Have you ever thought about what it takes to run a multi-billion-dollar business? Now imagine trying to do that, but every single step is buried under a literal mountain of paper. Sounds impossible, right? Well, for a long time, that was the reality for traders in Bangladesh. Today, we're going to unpack the country's absolutely massive digital leap, one that's changing everything. And we're basing this on some fantastic analysis from expert MD Joynal Abdin. Okay, so to really get why this digital shift is such a huge deal, we have to go back to the beginning. We need to understand the bottleneck. Let's dive into the paper problem that was, really holding the whole economy back.
So what happens when a multi-billion-dollar export industry hits a wall of paper? I mean, that was the core issue, right? You've got this global powerhouse for garments, a country literally built on exports, and it's being choked by paperwork from another century. It was this huge paradox, and something just had to give.
And get this, 90%. To put that in perspective, a single port, just one, called Chattogram, handles 90% of the entire country's trade. Now try to imagine all of that, all those ships, all those containers being processed with physical paper. The pressure was immense. The system was frankly at a breaking point.
The old system was just tangled, a complete mess of fragmented, paper-based processes spread across dozens of agencies. Before this big change, traders were basically trapped in this bureaucratic maze. We're talking days, sometimes a whole week, just physically running from one government office to another to get licenses and permits. It was slow, it was expensive, and it was a massive wall blocking any real growth.
So how do you even begin to fix a problem that big? You don't just put a Band-Aid on it, right? You have to rebuild the whole thing from the ground up. And that's exactly where this ambitious vision called Digital Bangladesh enters the picture.
And the solution wasn't just one simple fix. Nope, it was more like an entire digital toolkit. You've got these key platforms, like the Bangladesh Single Window. Think of it as a one-stop shop for all your licenses. Then there's ACU Custa World, which digitizes all the customs paperwork, and CPS Guy, which makes clearing things at the port way faster. Each one of these tools was specifically designed to cut through a different part of that old, tangled mess.
But really, the star of the show here is the National Single Window, or BSW for short. The best way to picture it is like a digital master key. Just think, instead of needing 19 different physical keys to open 19 different doors at 19 different government agencies, traders now have one single online portal to deal with all of them. No more running around, no more repetitive paperwork. It's that simple.
And when you look at the timeline, you can see just how fast all of this happened. I mean, it really kicked off back in 2013 when they started digitizing customs. Then in 2020, they got even more ambitious, experimenting with cutting-edge stuff like blockchain for financial transactions. But the real rocket fuel was lit in the last couple of years, with the BSW going live in 2025 and the Port Zone system launching in 2026. Just boom, boom, boom.
Okay, so we've seen all these new digital tools, but the big question is, what does this all actually mean for people on the ground? How did it change things day to day? Let's talk about the real-world impact, moving from days to mere hours.
The numbers here are just, wow, over 578,000. That's how many certificates and permits were issued online in just the first half of 2025. I want you to really think about that for a second. That's more than 500,000 times a business owner didn't have to get in their car, drive across town, and stand in a long line. This wasn't some small pilot program. This was a fundamental shift in how the entire country does business.
And here is the real payoff. Just look at this comparison. The old way, with paper, that could take anywhere from 1 to 5 days. The new way, with the BSW, for 84% of cases, we're talking under 1 hour. That is absolutely incredible. For a small business, that's the difference between shipping an order on time or losing a valuable customer. It's a complete game changer.
And, it wasn't just about being faster. It was about being better. As Jean Pesme from the World Bank put it, the BSW launch improved risk management and ensured transparency. Basically, by putting everything online, you create this perfect digital paper trail. Suddenly, everything is transparent, everyone is accountable, and the opportunities for corruption just shrink.
So, let's just recap the key benefits here. We've got huge time and cost savings. We've got way more transparency. And, crucially, we have a more inclusive system that helps small and medium-sized businesses grow. It levels the playing field, It means that smaller companies can now navigate the system just as easily as the big corporations. All of this makes Bangladesh a much more competitive and reliable partner in global trade.
But look, a change this big is never going to be perfectly smooth. It's just not that simple. Rolling out fancy new technology is one part of the puzzle, but getting everyone to actually use it, and use it well, that's a whole different challenge. So let's get real and talk about the transformation's hurdles.
A survey from 2024 shows us what those hurdles are, especially for the small and medium-sized businesses, the very ones who stand to gain the most. The top barriers they're facing, well, no surprise, high initial costs are a big one. Then you've got limited digital literacy, sometimes weak infrastructure, and of course, a healthy fear of cybersecurity threats.
And we're not just talking about minor glitches here. I mean, think about it. What good is a 24/7 online portal if the power cuts out or your internet connection is unstable? And beyond the basic infrastructure, there are other big challenges. Cybersecurity and data privacy, a real lack of digital skills for some people, and making sure all the different systems can talk to each other. If these issues aren't tackled head-on, they could seriously slow down all the amazing progress that's been made.
Which brings us to the most important question, right? What happens next? The foundation is built, the challenges are clear, so what's the roadmap from here? How do you make sure all these incredible gains stick around for the long haul?
Well, for businesses, there are some pretty clear recommendations. It's a four-step process, really. First, they've got to fully embrace these new electronic systems. Get registered on the BSW, use it for everything. Second, train your people. Make sure your team knows how to use these tools. Third, adopt digital payments to make things even faster. And fourth, start leveraging digital marketing to reach a global audience. Honestly, in this new world, these aren't just nice-to-haves. They're essential for survival.
And of course, policymakers have their own homework to do. It starts with continuing to invest in infrastructure. We're talking reliable power and internet for everyone. Next, they've got to update the legal framework to match the technology. Then it's all about capacity building and awareness, running campaigns to get everyone on board. And finally, and this is a big one, they have to keep strengthening cybersecurity to protect this whole new digital ecosystem.
So this is where we land. As technology erases borders for trade, will it also close the gap between giant corporations and small entrepreneurs? Bangladesh's story shows us that technology can absolutely tear down old, bureaucratic barriers, making trade faster and a lot more fair. But that bigger question, that one remains. And how we answer it won't just shape the future for Bangladesh. It could very well define the future of the global economy for everyone.